Hey, welcome everybody. This is the interview. The big fancy introduction. It's the Josh and Joshua show here today. But before we get into the interview, I saw you were leading at church, which is awesome. Josh
Yes.
and I go to the same church. And
Yeah.
it just reminded me, like, that's where you come from. That's where this all started, obviously. So I love seeing you serve in the local church. What is that like
Yeah.
compared to being on the road?
Oh, it's well, I was about to say life-giving, but that makes it seem like being on the road isn't life-giving, and I do love that, and that's part of but it's refreshing. It's I mean, I think it's what you said, that's what I've done. I mean, I started playing drums in worship with my dad when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, something like that. So, and then started leading worship in youth group not long after that. So, I mean, that's just kind of been the way I've served in my local church since I was a teenager. And I went through a season when we moved from Redding, California to here in Tennessee, about 3.5 years ago, which is crazy. It's been that long. But, and I went in like the process right after we moved, I think we went like a year and a half and didn't know where we were going to go to church yet. I mean, like we visited like a lot of churches over a year and a half. And it was the first time in my life that I had ever had to choose a church. I grew up, my dad's a pastor, so I always went to his church. I went straight from that to ministry school. So I was at that church, and then I started being a worship pastor on staff. And so then everywhere I moved was for the church. And even moving out to Reading, we moved out there because of Bethel Church. And so this was the first time, and I'm in my 40s, that I had to like, okay, I don't know how do you pick a church? I've always just I had a church already. And so we went through a year and a half or so of that, and that was weird. And then also, like, I wasn't leading either. I wasn't leading at church. So that was, um, there was part of that was really good. I think I needed like that season of just
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
church with my family, obviously, and not being one of the worship leaders or pastors. But, but also in that, I think I didn't realize like how much doing that actually helped me connect and feel a part of my church that I'm at, because it's always been how I served. I mean, yeah, it is my
Yeah.
job, but also before that, it's always been like, this is how I serve in church, as I lead, or I'm on the worship team or something. And so to make that, to go bring it back to your question, like, it's been amazing to actually just lead it at our church and do it, once every month or once every 2 months, and jump up and just maybe do one song or two songs, but just be up there with the team and just lead. And um, I mean, practically, it just helps me. I fall in love even more with my church and with our church
Hmm.
and with the people, and just serving, coming early and setting up chairs and doing all the stuff that I did honestly all through my 20s. And it's so good for your heart, and it's good for your relationship with the Lord, and I've loved it. It's been
Well, it's such
amazing.
a
I love
different
our
environment, our
Yeah,
setting versus most, because we're doing it in the worshiping in the round, and
in the
you're
round.
you're seeing people's faces. You're up close
Yeah.
and sweaty and personal in
Yeah.
that Texas or
Yeah.
that Tennessee humidity.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's
Oh, it was hot this past Sunday. Yeah.
yeah, you got to really love serving to serve
Yeah,
in that environment.
definitely. Definitely. It's so
And
fun. Yeah.
and I won't say the name because I know our pastor would be really upset because he's trying to keep it a small
He's
church.
trying to I know. I know.
Shout out to Dustin. The only pastor that's like, look, we really don't want more people to come here.
Yeah. No, he did. We honestly, we should have more than one service, because it's crowded and packed and kind of uncomfortable. But he's kind of like, he doesn't want to. He's like, there's plenty of other churches. If you go to another church, this is uncomfortable. Go somewhere else. Like, all right,
I
I
love
like that.
that. Well, okay, so Made for More, you're out touring with Made for More right now. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful album. Loved it. It was
Thank
able to
you.
be there for that live
Yeah, that's right.
recording. It was really special.
In our
So
little church there.
in our little church, here we go. It comes back around. Serve in your local. I guess that's the message. We could just end here. Serve in your
Yeah,
local church.
serve
It
your
all
local
starts there,
church.
please. But if you had to look at this album as if each song was a different book on your bookshelf, which song would you pull out first?
Oh, wow. What a great question.
Thank you.
Which song would I pull out first? I mean, it's so easy to just say "Made for More" because it is the title track, but it's the title track for a reason. I mean, it's the one that like, it's a song. I mean, I just don't think I'll ever get tired of singing it and leading it. It's just one of those. And I mean, there's definitely the Prince of Peace song that is very special to me and my family, just because of how it was written and everything. That's always going to be special to me too. But it's just for like leading a song on like a worship song. I think "Made for More" is the one that it's definitely moved me the most. It's done. It's even my family. Well, not even just my son right now. He's been listening to it a lot. He's 11, and he's been listening to it a lot over the last few weeks. Just because he's been feeling some fear and just some not identity, but I mean, just he's actually growing in his faith. Just as 11-year-old, we've been reading the Word every night, and I'm not saying all that to sound like super spiritual and holy.
No, we get it. You're totally bragging.
Yeah,
total
I'm trying to
brag right here. Yeah,
but we've been diving in more, and he's in that age when we've just been talking about just who God is and who He is to us, and knowing Him, or reflects. He the more we know Him, the more He reveals who we are. And so we've been in that season. And I heard him the other day. We have these like a little Alexas that the kids listen to music. They have each one in each of their rooms, and when they go take showers, they'll unplug their Alexa, take it to the bathroom, plug it in, and then I can hear them in there like, "Alexa, play Brandon Lake, whatever," or "Alexa, play Forrest Frank, Good Day," And the other day, my son was just, "Alexa, play "Made for More" by Josh Baldwin." It was like playing that, which I'm sure he's sick of by now. He heard that song 2 years before anyone else did, when it was just, but I loved it because I realized, oh yeah, the night before we were talking a little bit about that song and like how just our identity with Christ and all that. And so I was like, oh, that feels really special. And then, but not only my son, my dad is, like currently working. He's a pastor, but he's also a writer, and he's written books, and he's working on a book called "Made for More" that was inspired by the first time I sent him that song 2 years ago. I sent him that song as a demo, and it just like lit something in him. And so he's been going down this path of writing a book that hopefully will come out later this year.
That's fantastic.
And so yeah, that's that. Yeah,
it's
so
just
crazy.
so cool to see your creative journey and your personal walk with the Lord, and then those writing sessions you're having with your your partners that are on their own journey, but kind of how it feeds into your own family. I mean, that's that can't be anything more gratifying than that.
It's amazing, and I feel so thankful that my kids especially aren't like tired of it or tired of me or tired of what I do. I mean, I love that when I come home, I'll play them songs like they know I was out writing that day. And so I'll come home and I'll play them the song, and it means a lot that I mean, not all of them, they don't like all of them, but I mean, the ones when it happens, and when there's some songs that hit home and they love it too. And it means something to them. That feels really special. And in my dad too. I mean, I send all my songs to my dad, and he's always very encouraging. He, rarely says I don't like that song or whatever. But yeah, when it's something too that ignites, like he had gone through a season where he wasn't writing as much and just didn't feel the inspiration, and just couldn't. He would still try, but just wasn't hitting a vein, and he was honestly getting discouraged. And so, and hearing that song really like lit something in him and gave him a direction to like, oh, I have an idea, and he's ran with it. So. No, it's so special. I love it when it touches the world, but when it touches my home, that's when it like really, really means something.
Absolutely. So plug for the podcast, The Walk. Check out The Walk. Josh's devotional is really fantastic. And it's that story that he mentioned about that song, Prince of Peace, which you're going to want to check out. It's The Walk devotionals for worshipers. So check that out for sure. But I wanted to ask, kind of as a follow-up to that, and this topic really of serving your family, serving your local body, how does what influences your songwriting choices the most? Is it your family and what you're currently working through? Is it your local church? Is it the world around you, or is it just kind of a
Yeah.
combination? Or what is
I
the biggest influence on your songwriting?
I mean, I think it's a combination. I don't think it's one more than the other. I mean, if I look back at songs, I think I would, maybe if I put them in categories, all that you said, there might be one that wins out, but I think it depends on who I'm writing with and what's moving my heart that week or whatever. And some of it is like what you said, that story on the walk, the devotion, we talked about Prince of Peace, and that was just something going on in our home that inspired that song and in that writing session, that moment. And then there's been times when I've written songs that were inspired by maybe what's going on in our local church, or what our pastor's been talking about. And I love that. And especially when when I'm going after a song that like I really feel like it's for the church and I want to lead at church, I think that's really special to have something that's like that started maybe out of a message that I heard at my church. I had songs that started years ago from hearing Bill Johnson at Reading, like, speak his message, and just, that sparked something in me. Oh, let me go after that. And I get together with guys and write. And so I love that. But then, there's been times too, when even stuff going on in the world, and just, I think years ago when I felt like I had a lot of friends like kind of either leaving the faith or like wondering if they were going to or quit, like that. I remember that spurred on some like writing sessions and moments that we went after, and some of those songs didn't see the light of day, but they were maybe even they were just like a process of me even not me dealing with what they were dealing with, but maybe me just dealing with them.
Your reaction to what they were going
yes,
through.
And so, and I love that too. I love the pressure that just because I write a song doesn't mean it's like for everyone and to be sent out to the world. Sometimes it is just like it's a way of healing and just dealing with it, with the Lord. And just, I love that. But I try to be open to what's going on in my, like, and I think, especially if I know that I have I mean, I'm always like coming up with like little ideas here and there here in this room, and just that maybe I'll put over here, and then when I go to a session, then I'll pull those out and like, hey, I've had that, got this and got that. But then also if I know that I'm writing soon, I'll kind of just, a week ahead of time, just be asking, okay, what's going on? What have I been reading? I've been reading this book over here. So do I want to go down that journey and maybe like, let's write about something that I'm reading, or write about what's going on in this, what did Dustin speak about at church the other day, something like that. So I think it's all of them. It's just,
that's good. So, spiritual warfare is a really big topic for us right now. We really see God working through music, through worship, specifically to combat spiritual warfare. Prince of Peace is a great example of that. It sounds like in your own life. How much are you feeling? Well, maybe take that topic as a whole and give a general comment on just, are you seeing more spiritual warfare right now in and around the church, given everything going on in the world? And then follow up to that would be, what do you do in your personal walk to fight against that?
Oh man. I mean, in my own personal walk, I'll hit that first. I mean, I fall into worry a lot. I think, I probably talked about that on the devotional. We're plugging the devotional a lot here.
It was a good episode. So
I know for me, the battle that I face a lot, the warfare that hits me is worry and is doubt, and maybe, and which probably is just like a lack of just not, for some reason, not believing that the Lord is in control and has like, the best plans for me. And, and I mean, I one of my key verses is, people are always like, what's your favorite verse? And which I don't know. I'm like, they're all good. I feel like I have good ones for different seasons, but the one that's been the biggest for just like the entire season of my life is the Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope in the future. And because I feel like a lot of times I have to remind myself of that and remind myself of all he's done and remind myself of how much he loves me. And so I think battling that and fighting that that warfare is me doing that, me going back in scripture, reminding myself of what he said, what he's already done, and what he said he would do. And then practically just I go on walks a lot. I have to like escape. I have to put my phone down and just go get with the Lord. And it's so practical. And I wish there was like some big, amazing, like super spiritual answer I could give to like dealing with some of that. But that's what helps me. I grab my guitar, get alone, and just sing an old worship song, honestly, and not try to create, not try to write, not try to do my job, but just worship and go on walks. And I think, and I think we were talking about the church. I feel like the church is coming back to, and I'm probably reminded about this because we are blessed to have a church that's really amazing at this part. It's just the community and the family aspect of church and what that means, and not. I think church. I feel like healthy churches are looking more and more like that nowadays, and that's how we're fighting the warfare of just the world and what's coming at this world, but then also. Just the whole thing of like the mega church, which I'm not like against mega church. I mean, I'm a part of Bethel Music and Bethel Church. I mean, it's a big place, but
pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, but I think sometimes church can get to corporation like, and so I think the churches that seem healthy to me are the ones that are going back to just like community and family and homes. And
well, you said it. You said practical, like the practical,
which is again, yes, the practical,
very practical steps of like just be in discipleship, be in community, and be in your word daily, and go on your walks and do your private worship and prayer times because the spiritual battle is real. And I think it's not like a magic sauce. It's not like a magic thing that now I'm dealing with spiritual warfare. It's an ever present thing, and it's just a matter of how we are practically fighting against that on a daily basis. So I love that.
Totally.
So you also mentioned healing. I know that that's been a part of your ministry as well. Are you writing specifically to address healing, praying for healing? Is that a part of maybe some of your worship experiences, or how does healing play into all of this world of Josh Baldwin's music?
I think it just depends on the song. I don't go in naturally and just be like, okay, I want to write about healing, but I think, I'll say it this way. I remember years ago, or like it was like one of the third, fourth songs I ever wrote. I was in my early 20s, and I was a worship pastor at this little church in the mountains of North Carolina, and I had just gone through a breakup. And I mean, this is like, I'm dumbing it way down here, but
I'm gonna write that down. Actually, top 10 worship breakup songs.
Top 10 worship breakup songs
for worshipleader.com.
But no, this won't be on it because I remember I wrote this song and I was at a church that just let me do whatever, which is pretty amazing. I was a young 20 something year old, and they knew I was writing songs, and they were just like, yeah, do them. And some of them should never have been led in public, but it was also very like, it was cool to have the freedom to like go for it and not be stifled. And who knows what would have happened if I hadn't have gotten that freedom. But this one song, I remember one of my best friends was one of the pastors there too, and I led the song, and it was just a bad song, and it sounded like a bad, sad country song, and just that shouldn't be like a Sunday morning, like let's all gather around and sing this song to the Lord. And I can't even remember how it went, but thank God. But I remember talking with him about it, and I was like, we were roommates at the time actually. And I was like, what did you think, Mike? And he was like, I mean, he was just a kind man, and he didn't want to like tear me. He didn't want to like shut me down creatively. And he just, so he's like, I think you just keep writing. I was like, okay. And I remember, and I'd written that song like right after this break, and I was just heartbroken. I was just, oh my goodness. And I had messed up. I had probably deserved to be broken up with. So I felt bad. I missed this person, and I felt bad because I caused this and just all this. And then fast forward like a couple months later, I had gone through just a process of just coming to grips with everything that happened, all that. And then I wrote this other song that was similar to the old one, but just something felt different. It felt like more life on it. And so I led that, and it took off, and our church loved it. And I remember I was hanging out with Mike that week after having led the second song. And he's like, you remember that other song you wrote like a month ago and you did it and it was really bad? And I was like, it was really bad. You didn't say it was really bad. And he was like, it was really bad. And he said, you wrote that song out of hurt. And he said, this song that you just did today, it was out of a place of healing.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. And it just felt, I was like, oh, okay. So I think
overflow.
Like,
that's so
yeah,
good.
when you said that, I'm like, I don't know that I go after necessarily like go after a healing in the song. I mean, I want that to happen, and I definitely sing about that a lot. But I think it's really good when songs are written out of that place of healing, out of like this is what the Lord's done for me. And maybe sometimes, and I know I've probably even done it since that time, but I've like maybe gone after a song or writing a little too early. It's like, okay, no, you're not quite ready to write that one yet. Just like, there's a little more that the Lord wants to do. And then once he does it, now now you have authority in this area maybe, and you can sing about it.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, I love that. I've always thought about that, and just, okay, write out of healing and not out of a hurt. Now, if I was going to be a country singer, which I've been told I should, maybe I will write out of hurt, and that would be better.
Well, if this ministering in the church thing doesn't work out for you, you can always fall back on country music.
I need to hurry. I'm getting old.
Yeah. So what I always like to open up to some of the leaders in our space, the opportunity to encourage, the audience. So, what are you seeing out there as you're touring on this album and interacting with folks around the country? I'm not sure if you've gone overseas for this album yet, but
I'm literally flying out Sunday, Father's Day, to Europe, to Amsterdam.
Awesome.
And I'll be out there with Bethel Music for a little Europe tour. Yeah.
Very cool. So you are going overseas with it, but as you've been touring this album around, what encourages you? What are you seeing out there in the global church that really encourages you?
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple things. I mean, just specifically with the album and this, I've sang Made for More a ton, and it's so encouraging to see how many people have connected with it, and just because of like what it's talking about, our identity with Christ, and how he's called us by name, and that we are made for more than we even probably imagine. And that's been really cool and special to be able to sing those songs, which I did get a comment on one of my post the other day about that song that someone said, this song is so narcissistic. And I was like, I mean, I didn't like, I was like, I won't comment, but,
keyboard warrior.
Yeah. Keyboard warrior. But I think that does feel really special to be able to have a song that we just sing over ourselves, like reminding ourselves of who the Lord is and what he's done. That's been amazing to see. But also I think the biggest thing that I've seen just even over the last 2 or 3 years has just been the heart, like young people just are so on fire for the Lord, like then the teenagers and people in their 20s. And I think I noticed it. Maybe I noticed it even more because I feel like I over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been bombarded with maybe this lie that they're not. I don't know, or this generation, they just don't, for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And then I go out and I'm like, man, I had to see youth and young adults on fire and like going after the Lord and worshiping their guts out. And also like young people, youth that are like writing songs and leading worship. And I was like, I remember like not walking in that at the early age. I mean, I was leading worship, but I wasn't going after like writing songs and just all of that until like my mid 20s, and I had to be kind of like pushed into it in some ways. And which I think we actually did talk about on our last time we hung out with
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but it's just so encouraging because I mean, I remember talking with a lot of them, just so encouraged by them, and then trying to encourage them of like, hey, you are in like an amazing season of life of just you, like the what the Lord's doing in you, and just the fact that some of these kids are like 15, 16, they're writing songs, they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, I didn't even do this when I was your age. Like, do you realize like this is unbelievable? You're like going
Yeah.
and you have so many things at your disposal, like right at your fingertips to help you in this area that I don't feel like I had 30 years ago when I was trying to do this or go after this. And so that's pretty amazing. It's really special. And I think it's been easy to overlook that over the last, 5 or 6 years. But as I go out and as I see people, then I'm like, the Lord opens my eyes like, hey, it's like, yeah, you're not the only one that loves Jesus. you're not the only one that's serving me,
You don't have the corner on that market, right?
Yeah.
No,
and it's just, it's practical, but it's so encouraging. And just young people just encourage me and just inspire me and stir me up. And so that's been really great.
No, I think you tapped into something there. There was for sure this period of time where the, let's just say plus 40 crowd had a lot of negative things to say about the, minus 30 or minus 25 crowd. And I think you're absolutely right that was, number one, not true. And number two, not something that generation should partner with. And it is very encouraging to see how much life and joy there is in that young generation and how they are pursuing God in such an authentic way. And that's so great.
And I think too, the differences between where they are now and where we were in the 90s, when I was a teenager, it felt easier to serve the Lord back then, or at least to to be a Christian and to love. Like it was less. Nowadays, like, just especially if you're in public school and all that, if you're gonna really be serving the Lord, like, you love the Lord. Like, you're not just, you're going out, and so, the ones that are on fire because they have to be. There's no halfway doing it. And I remember this is recent, a couple weeks ago or about a month ago, I went to Vermont on a tour, and I'd never been to Vermont. It's one of the only states I'd never visited.
Yeah, I've never been to Vermont or Maine or anywhere up there. Yeah,
and it's so crazy. Yeah, and I was like, there's churches here, and so we went up to this church, and this church probably seats like 500 people, and it's one of the biggest churches in the area. And the people were just so, all day long, the people were just like, thank you so much for coming to Vermont. Like, no one comes up here and does this. And that night it was packed out, and I remember people were telling me like it's maybe one of the top three most unchurched states in the country. But and so I the whole day I was like, they were very sweet, but I kept thinking like, I wonder what tonight's going to be like. This is like, this one of the most unchurched places in the country, and I'm like from the South where there's a church every corner. I'm used to the, it's not going to be as cool and awesome it is in the South or where I'm from. And it was unbelievable that night, and people worship like crazy. I mean, it was just from the minute we started, and it was just wall to wall people. And I was like, oh, like, these people, they have to burn bright when they're here. Like, they love the Lord, and it's like a love that I don't think I know about, because I can blend in a little bit easier probably with the crowd.
It's different. When it's a sacrifice.
Yes.
To be a Christian on a daily basis, you're right. Yeah. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. I mean, and those people,
and we're still, it's still the U.S. It's still easier than it is in most places.
Yeah, for sure.
To serve the Lord, but to be somewhere like that. But I'm just so encouraged, because it's always encouraging to see people loving the Lord.
Yeah, well,
with their whole
we're all
selves.
made for more, right? I mean,
We are.
to use the song, but to the keyboard warrior and to those out there that would like, I think they just missed the point.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the perspective of you're pursuing a worldly gain. That's one path. But what I think, and I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me, but if I'm wrong, but made for more is really like we have a plan completely outside of the construct of the world that the
Yeah.
Lord has put on us. That is so much
Yeah.
more than we could ever imagine.
Oh yeah.
If we
Well,
would walk that path, then it's not, and that's a sacrificial path, the path where we're reflecting back His glory, path where
yeah.
where people can see Him in us, and it's not about us. So
Totally.
I love that message.
I think the whole the whole song starts with saying, the only reason I know who I am is because I know who the Father is. Like, if it were up to me, I actually wouldn't sing and say all these things about me. I don't think I'm much. And then I found out who He was, and this is what He says about me. And so I'm just choosing to partner with who the Lord says I am. And that's
So
really
good.
what the song is.
Well, it's so good, man. It's so good to just talk about God and music and worship with you and just hang with you. And I'm encouraged, man. I'm very encouraged. And thanks for hanging with us. So Josh Baldwin, definitely check out the pod, the walk. It's a really good episode, really great devotional. And then we'll put links. If you haven't heard Made for More, then you're probably in a place you're hiding. Maybe you're in a bunker somewhere. I don't know, because Made for More is everywhere.
Are you in Vermont?
Right now. Maybe you're in Vermont or Maine, and we'll pray for you. No, check it out. We'll put the links in the show notes as well. So thanks for hanging with us, Josh. It's always good to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. So fun to talk. Thanks so much, man.
All right, man. God bless.